What is up? Good day. The moment we have all been waiting for. The Trump inauguration is finally here. I mean, not everyone has been looking forward to it for the same reasons, but one thing is for sure, we knew going into this it was going to be it's going to be eventful and volatile, and it's already proven to be. So today we're going to look into a little bit what to expect. Although, to be honest with you, on a day like today, I prefer to just sit back, enjoy what's the price action. And I do have some things to say, especially regarding Ethereum. I do think it is time to start paying to Ethereum. We'll see why. We're going to dive into that. What's up, Auke? Need timer, is it not? So we're going to dive into that. But man, it's going to be a wild day. I'll give you my first thoughts. As you know, one of the plays I've been looking at, if we were to go to the highs, first of all, we were waiting for the all-time highs to be hit. We were actually thinking it would happen just before Monday, but it ended up being on Sunday already, just before Monday, but it ended up being on Monday open. But we did take out that all-time high now, right? So we have new all-time highs today, which is something we were expecting and something we were taking into account. And now that it has happened, the question is what's going to happen next? We'll soon get our answer because shit is going to happen today. But, you know, let's just, I'm going to stick with high time frame analysis today. So this is one of the things I was looking at a while ago. I still think we're well on track for an inter-cycle top around January 20, the Trump inauguration. Right, so this was a while ago, December 17th, that I posted that. And now, I mean, I have it on my chart. Things are, you know, right at the top. Now we are at the highs around that date. So the question is, okay, are we actually going to see that inter-cycle top, or are we just going to blast through? Normally, on any other day, if it was any other day, I'll give you my first, basically my hunch. On any other day, I would have said, okay, we're definitely or very probably going down. But now, I don't know. I could see this blow through, and I think it's one of those days where it will heavily depend on what happens on the inauguration day. If Trump immediately signs an executive order that there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve, or any reserve for that matter, we're just going to blast off, right? And I think I read that he has like 100 executive orders lined up. I know there's a lot of skepticism of people saying that he's not going to do it and blah, blah, blah. I think there's a high chance he will do it. Maybe not today, but he will do it. I honestly don't see, also because the House is pro-crypto, the Senate is pro-crypto, everyone, the head of Treasury is pro-crypto, everyone is pro-crypto. So it just seems unlikely that he won't do it. I mean, we'll get into his meme coin shenanigans. I don't really understand that one, to be honest, but we'll get into it. But so if he does that, if he gives the green light on the Bitcoin strategic reserve or whatever crypto reserve, I think we'll just blast off, right? Then we'll just blast off. Say he doesn't do that, then there is more of a chance that we're gonna reject here, because in the end you do wanna treat the range as the range, and right now we're simply at range highs. So it would be very stupid for us to start looking for longs here, right? It might blast off, because also historically, you know, post-inauguration months has been the most bullish. But, you know, fact is that we reached all-time highs, which is something we were looking at for an intercycle top. And I say intercycle because it will be a temporary top followed by a move further up. So this is something, you know, not worth longing at the very least. Can it blast off? Yes, if you know, at some point, there's also a case to be made where all the news is simply so bullish that there's no stopping the train and it will just keep going up. And that might happen today. Personally, I'm not going to act on anything. I'm just going to wait and see, figure out what happens. If we would get that drop back down, I mean, honestly, there would be a golden opportunity to start buying. But I don't know, man. I feel the momentum. Like you just feel the bull momentum picking up. So let's see how that plays out. But so, you know, we got to keep that scenario into account. You don't want to be blindsided. You don't want to be blindsided by, you know, greed, fear, and then just when I'm sure a lot of people are going to be longing this right now, and it's a very dangerous thing to do, right? We could even do something like this, something crazy, We know that today is going to be a very, very volatile day. Can it keep on shooting up? For sure. Do we want to bet on it? No, I don't think so. So personally, I'm just going to sit and wait and see whatever today does. I'm going to turn on the inauguration tonight, see whatever he says, see if he says something about crypto. That would be good. Good morning, Yelena and Ekru. What's up? Hope you guys are both well. Good to see you here, as always. But so, those are my main thoughts. My main thoughts is honestly that what's going to happen in the immediate term, I do not know. I think it's very hard to predict on a day like today, and I'm not going to try to be a hero by trying to predict it. It will be very dependent on what Trump does. It will be very dependent on what Trump does. Once again, on any other day, I would be very cautious here regardless, but on any other day, I would have said, okay, we're at the top of the range. We just finished that rotation to the upside, right? This is playing out. Are we looking at it into cycle top? But the reason I also think, if the market pumps like this, normally I would consider it a very, very bearish thing on the Monday open. I would consider that a bearish thing. The same happened here, right? This was the Monday open as well. We can see that if we just put in or not the Monday open, it was a little bit after. It was a little bit after it. Let me put on, why is that not working? There we go. Let me get these on. Weekly one. Right, so this was shortly after the Monday open, and then price just dumped and then immediately reversed, right? This is something you often see. I've talked about this last week on my stream. I don't trust Monday open pumps like this, or dumps for that matter. Oftentimes they get reversed. So there is reason for caution there. Once again, though, I would not short this and I would not long this right now, right? Let's just wait and see what happens. However, we can be prepared. We can be prepared. Say it does happen, right? So there's no long to be had here. I think that would be very foolish. Can it pay out? Yes, but I think leverage traders are going to get absolutely wrecked today. But say it does play out and we get like a massive sell-off here. I think the only good thing to keep in mind, right, if we get a sell the news kind of event, the only thing to keep in mind is that this would be a good buy opportunity, right? That's the only thing we can do. This would be a good buy opportunity. If price sweeps these lows, amazing last buy opportunity before the remainder of the bull market, in my opinion. And this would only be a little further pause. However, if you would ask me on my gut, which obviously we cannot use, but if you'd ask me on my gut, I would think it's not going to happen, especially if Trump signs that executive order that we talked about. So, long story short, for Bitcoin, yes, we are at the top of the range. It's also inauguration day. It's a wild day. I'm looking forward to it to see what happens, but we know this was not the last of the volatility we have seen. But if there's bullish news coming out, then there might not be any stopping on this train, and this thing just might keep on going, right? So I'm holding on to all my bags. I'm not selling anything. Look at that, already 6% up. But a very interesting thing is happening, and that is what World Liberty. So I tweeted this yesterday, where Eat Bitcoin just pushed into weekly market maker demand, massive FOMO on Solana. So this was because of the Trump coin, massive FUD on Ethereum, and my window for all season has been around February for months. And this is true. I've been looking at around February ever since, I don't know, October, November. I've been saying, okay, I think around February is when we'll see it. But we've been patient. So my rules don't allow me to get bearish on ETH here. When everyone's looking at one thing, you look the other way. This thing starts going, the 2-year downtrend will be undone in a matter of weeks. So let's just get that one out here. So that is this, right? So we're still going down. Obviously, it's still a downtrend. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. I don't think this thing is going to V-shape. But I tweeted this, and then, the next day I see this. Right? Trump's World Liberty just spent $20 million to buy 6,000 ETH. It was not the only part. I think they also bought, I'm sure they bought more than this. I think they ended up buying 40 million ETH or something. Let's see how much they bought. World Liberty. Right, and they bought TrumpCoin.eth, EricTrump.eth, BaronTrump.eth. The Trumps are on the ETH train right now, right? So it is very interesting here, and they bought 48 million worth of Ethereum, and it was already their biggest holding, right? So it was already the biggest holding of the world Liberty Financial. So Trump's crypto project, we could say, right? They're not the owners, but they're heavily involved. So, I mean, this cannot be weird timing, right? Where I said, because I said in that earlier post, when everyone is looking at one thing, you look the other way. So everyone's looking at Sol, everyone's looking at Trump, like the Trump coin. And I said, well, retail's looking at Trump, smart money is looking at ETH. So it's very clear that, Trump launches the Trump coin, but is heavily accumulating ETH. So what I've been saying also is that Trump coin has all the ingredients to become one of the biggest sell the news events we have ever seen in crypto. And I'm saying all this because it brings me to my thesis of what might happen following the inauguration. First of all, let's check what Trump is doing right now. Right, so we had this insane FOMO on Trump. I've never seen FOMO like this. Never. Like this must be one of the craziest FOMO. Do we have one with more data? Official Trump. There is this one more. I mean, oh wait. I mean, this is just crazy, right? Crazy. How much is this pump alone? It's 653%, and it's not even the bottom, right? This got listed later. So what I was saying is that, okay, that has the potential to be the biggest sell the news event ever, because everyone's buying like crazy, massively induced FOMO leading up to the inauguration. And now it's obviously when all the normies are buying, all the retail is buying and saying, what's up, HFT? Good to see you, man. Still from Marbella or back in rainy UK? But when all the retail is buying, leading up to such an insanely important day, I mean, that has all the ingredients to become a massive sell the news event, right? We have the fucking president of the United States launching a meme coin, right? An official meme coin. Then we have it become the biggest meme coin ever within a span of 24 hours, just reaching like an 80 billion market cap. Insane. It's completely crazy. I think it was bigger than Doge at some point. So it managed to do all that in 48 hours, right before the Trump inauguration. And you have the Trump inauguration. That's obviously going to bring massive FOMO to all retail who are aping in it. And, well, I mean, damn, man, whoever bought this is now down 35%, and it already dropped 50%. Now, if this would have kept on going into the inauguration, I would have been way more confident saying, okay, this is going to sell the news event. But it is still highly elevated, right? I would not be buying Trump coin. I would not be buying Trump coin. None of these, like, you want to wait. If you want to trade this, man, like, wait a couple of months. In 3 months, there's going to be an unlock of 80% of the supply. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen when 80% of the supply is going to be unlocked. But I know sure as shit that I would not want to be holding Trump coin by then. But, everyone, once again, I repeat, is that everyone is looking at Trump coin, which is why I said here, right? So everyone's looking one thing, you look the other way. So what I think is a very reasonable scenario is that Trump coin was sucking up all the liquidity, right? We saw something that I've never seen before here, that everything was down massively. And then we had Solana with massive green, which is just crazy, because obviously everyone is the algorithms at least were diverting in Solana so they could buy Trump coin. But basically the last 2 days everything has been red except for Solana, Trump coin, and maybe one or two other lost coins. Back in gray UK. Well, HFT, if it makes you feel any better, also here in Portugal it's gray and rainy right now. So I share your misery, although for me it's only last a week. For you, it lasts months. But I hope you had a good time in Marbella, man. It looked amazing. But so this was crazy, right? So everyone is obviously being pulled towards Solana. Everyone's being pulled towards Trump. So what I think might happen now, which would not be a weird thing, is obviously Bitcoin stayed strong, because Bitcoin is just very strong right now. I think a lot of people are also anticipating an approval of the Bitcoin reserve, right? Which makes people less inclined to sell. But it was clear that everyone was selling their altcoins, or at least for whatever reason, a lot of liquidity was being subtracted. So what I think might happen is what I said, or what I meant is, let me get to that post. Trump coin has all the ingredients to become one of the biggest sell the news events we have ever seen in crypto. And then someone asked, do you expect liquidity to flow back into alts, and especially ETH? And then I said yes. And this, I think, is an important point, because what happened is that, it's a form of, that's what I said here. I actually think a lot of liquidity will flow back into other alts. It's also a form of capitulation. So when I say a lot of liquidity, or there will be a sell the news event, I'm talking specifically about Trump coin and about maybe Solana, but I'm not too, I don't think it would have to sell off too much, but definitely Trump coin. I don't think Solana has to sell off too much, because you can definitely see a trickle-down effect where the money people made from Trump coin are going to trickle down into other meme coins, but also towards other chains. So it's funny, because after I said that, I mean, look at what Sol ETH did, for example. This massive wick right here. Like, this is a, how big did it end up being? Like an 18% wick. An 18% wick, right? So basically what happened is that we just SFP this level on Sol ETH, which is, I mean, it's too early to say that it's bearish, in my opinion. But what is clear is that this is a massive FOMO candle, right? Massive FOMO. So you can already kind of see it happening, right? So what this basically is indicating, that people were FOMOing the fuck into Solana from in this case from ETH, but also from other areas. And then, at some point after such a crazy move, people are going to be taking profits, which is exactly what happened. So what we see is now the opposite happening, where everything is green, but Solana, at least, these are the ETH pairs and the Bitcoin pairs, so never mind. But you can see that Solana is not that green anymore, right? It was plus 20%. This setup played up very nicely so far. I mean, it went a little bit lower, but all in all, it was not a bad setup. But then we see on Solana USD, we have kind of the same thing, where so far, this is a very important market structure point, where so far we have just simply failed. Where we have simply failed to break that market structure. There it goes. Daily market structure. Daily market structure, right? So we have an S&P of the daily market structure. Now, if we cannot break this, again today, and I'm not saying, because I do think this retracement looks nice. That's why I gave this setup, because I like this retracement in terms of US dollars. But this is too much, man. Like, that's not what you want to see. So there was massive FOMO, and everyone's aping into that. Honestly, it would have been much better for Solana if this would have happened. That would have been way healthier, right? This is here, all-time highs. Everyone is the most intense FOMO we have ever seen. Or at least that I have ever seen. Like, this is just insane what was happening. And then you have the massive rejection, not too bullish, right? And I don't think, what comes up fast can go down fast again. So long story short, when I say a sell the news event, I'm talking specifically about Trump coin and a lesser degree about Solana. And what could happen is that the sell the news would more or less be all the money flowing into other assets. So Bitcoin might moon, Ethereum might moon, other alts might moon, whereas Trump coin will go down and Solana will stagnate a bit. And that's also a form of capitulation, because what happened is that everyone fled from whatever alts they were holding into Solana and Trump coin specifically. And when everything else moons, that means they're left holding the bag, and they capitulated in that form, right? Because now they're holding something that's not moving. So I wouldn't trust this FOMO at all. I'm also I saw this setup, and principally I didn't take it, because I'm just like, I'm not into memes. I think it's degenerate what's happening. I'm also not happy that Trump did it. I'm generally, a lot of things, I'm pro pro-Trump's policies, so to say. I think what he's going to do, a lot of things he says he's going to do would be good for the economy, but what he's doing with this meme coin stuff, man, I cannot approve of that. I don't think it's going to be that good for the market. I hope, therefore, that liquidity is now going to get sucked back out again, because where do we? I mean, another thing why it's such a feasible scenario we're going to see sell the news event on Trump coin, and I might be wrong, guys. Like, it might go up, but it's clearly not a place you would long. But when you look at Twitter and you see responses from people, the responses, what they're saying is, yeah, but it's bullish because, or at least he's doing it for the people, and he just generated 70 billion in wealth for the people. That's such a unsolid take. Like, but people's mindsets are there. They're like, yeah, he's doing us a favor by handing us all free money. It's like, no, he did not generate any money. It was just a massive transfer of wealth, and not everyone, like most people, are going to be left holding the bags, right? 80% of people will lose money on Trump coin. So, but if that's the mindset of people, then they're going to hold, and they're going to not sell. So that makes for another scenario where you could see Solana and Trump coin specifically actually go down quite a bit after or during the inauguration, right? So I would be very careful with Solana and Trump coin, especially Trump coin. If you're holding this from further down, good job, man. Like that honestly, you killed it. But man, don't buy it here. Do not buy it here. Like, if this keeps going up and then further today, then I could see this absolutely dump then later on. But for me, I would personally say, now I'm just going to wait for further confluence. I saw he launched the Melania coin as well. So anyway, while everyone is looking at Solana and everyone is looking at Trump coin, right? We were looking at Ethereum, which I want to dive back into Ethereum. We know what's up with Bitcoin, because not only so. World Liberty Finance has been buying here, right? They disclosed the prices they were buying at. Here, where is it? This one doesn't have it. I think they were buying it like 3.3K or something. Like, you just have to wonder yourself, right? Like, what do these people know that we don't? What do these people know that we don't, right? This is Trump's World Liberty Financial. It's not completely correct. Trump doesn't own World Liberty Financial, but they have like very high ambassador advisor positions, so they're heavily involved in it. But then you have to wonder to yourself, so what they're doing is they're launching a meme coin, at the same time they're buying shit tons of ETH. The first thing I wonder is, okay, what do they know that we do not know, right? What do they know that we do not know? Let's see if we can find how much they're holding, right? I mean, like, look at that. It's by far their biggest holdings. 143 million in Ethereum, and 46 of that has been bought yesterday. 46 has been bought yesterday. So then I wonder, what do they know, right? What do they know that we do not know? And like I said, I cannot be bearish on ETH at these levels, but this is the most well-connected guy on Earth, arguably one of the most well-connected guys on Earth, going all in on Ethereum. So for me, it just seems that there is a very real possibility. And not only that, it's also happening at this level, right? So I mentioned this level in my post, where this is a weekly market maker demand. And if this doesn't give a bounce, this is the level where you would expect it to happen at some point, right? And this black line is where I had it for a while. It's basically where I kind of expect that altcoin season will kind of start accelerating a bit, or that we will see some kind of a movement. But we reach this market maker demand zone, as we call it, and then we see verified people buying Ethereum, right? People are buying Ethereum. This is then Link, but these big guys are buying Ethereum, 48 million to be exact, right? So, I mean, they did buy this with USDT for full disclosure. Let's see what they bought at. I kind of want to see what they bought at. I mean, I guess we can just. I think I'm sure it was like 3.3K. It was 3.3K. So they are accumulating here. Right? This is the Trump accumulation zone right now. The World Liberty Finance accumulation zone. So what I think could happen after it, man. Well, actually, that's one other thing. Where is that? Was it Eric Trump who tweeted that? Eric Trump tweeted something crazy about that. Yeah, look at this. So here is that that post about World Liberty spending 20 million USDC. So that was only half of it. And then Eric Trump tweets, "Wait until you see what they do tomorrow." I'm looking forward to see what they do today, right? So that is today. So clearly something is happening on ETH, right? Something is happening on ETH. Now, am I saying it's gonna immediately V-shape reverse from here? Very improbable, but I do think once it does reverse, that it's gonna go fast, right? I do think once this reverses, I mean, it could go low, it could even SFP this, right? There's no reason it couldn't. But I do think once it does reverse, this is just gonna keep on rocketing. But normally a bottom like this takes time to form. So even if we would bounce here, you would expect something like this to happen, and then later on in the year, because this move, like the main move in ETH, is probably gonna take 2 weeks, 2 weeks or something. So with that said, let's move on to Ethereum. Actually, I want to say one more thing about Bitcoin. So for the Minoma members, if this goes down, by the way, and it is indeed an inter-cycle top, once again, no stress. I don't think that would be a top. But I've said this in the Discord already. I would not be paying attention to statistics today. And the reason being is that with statistics, we want to, there you go. We want to capitalize on which patterns happen most often, right? So there's like statistical mean, just the normal distribution, which we often use. And then we can see that some sort of price action happens more often than the other. Now, so we're looking for the common denominator, the regular pattern. A day like today is not a regular day, right? We know that this is not a regular day at all. This is a complete anomaly. We don't have an inauguration every day with a pro-crypto president who may or may not sign executive orders with Bitcoin strategic reserves. We have no clue what he's going to do. All we know is that he's going to do a lot, right? All we know is that he's going to do a lot of executive orders, and one of them might be a crypto thing. But we know shit's going to happen, right? So this is not a normal day at all. And what that means is that this is not the kind of day you would be looking for regular occurrences and the average. What do you say? The average occurrence, right? So this is not what we do, and that's why I say, okay, let's not use statistics today, right? I wouldn't do it, and the same might be said for the week. But I kind of want to see what is happening here. I'm gonna get my pivot zones on. Get my pivot zones on. See what the weekly is saying. Get rid of these. Not interested in them. So we already bounced from the weekly pivot zone high. Retested the weekly P1 zone high. Actually, let's check the daily as well, because I think, funnily enough, we also bounced from the daily. Give that a second to load. There it is. Add that one. Yeah. So it's pretty funny. But this already shows this is oh wait, let me see if I have the right. Yeah, this already shows how of an improbable. This proves my point. How an improbable day this is. Because what you see here. Okay, first of all, funny, right? We go to. I think I've been thinking about why this happens on the pivot zones, right? I wrote a post about this. I'm like, okay, why does this happen? And you can see, because this happens really often, where we bounce off the P1 zone and then keep on, in this case, the daily P1 zone gave the bounce. And then in this case, we retested the weekly P1 zone. But now you can see, so only 20% of days would move, statistically speaking, outside of this area, right? Let me just get the weekly off for that. But only 20% of days would move outside of this area. And we already moved outside of this within at 7 a.m. UTC, within the first 7 trading hours. So this proves the point that this is a highly unlikely day, because we know only 1 out of 5 days would go here. And I would not be surprised. Normally I would say, well, this is exhausted as hell, but this is Inauguration Day. If Trump signs that executive order for a Bitcoin strategic reserve, this thing is going to the moon, right? It's going to the absolute moon. That might happen. So that's why I'm saying let's not use statistics today. And this proves that it's already an improbable day. So on an improbable day, you're not looking for the probable outcome, right? I always say we're already in the realm of the improbable, right? This already proves that we're in the realm of the improbable. So we're not looking for the probable outcome. It just doesn't make any sense. So, but that's funny to see. But I was thinking about, why does this happen? I mean, look at last week, for example. Last week was crazy. So full disclosure, it's not like this happens every week, right? But we do see it a lot. Here, I just got these are 16 different assets. Look at this. Bounce from the weekly P1 zone, bounce off the weekly P1 zone. I mean, you can see it. Bounces off the weekly P1 zone, bounces off the weekly P1 zone, bounces off the weekly P1 zone. These are all different assets, right? I'm not going to go through that effort of showing you. Just watch the tweet. You will see. But, I was thinking, how is this possible? And I think there's two logical conclusions. Is one, this is a place where algorithms get active, right? That makes the most sense. It must be something with algorithms where algorithms get active. And B, what I've noticed and I've seen is that 80% of the P1s will be put in here. Then 70% of them will be put in here. But then if you go to say 90%, then you will see this is the zone, right? So the dispersion, the further you get from 80%, the further the dispersion gets, which means that it is simply, the first 80% of occurrences are within here, and the second 20% are somewhere within here, even further, probably something like this. So that means that once price gets there, we know that price is very clustered. Usually these pivots are very clustered in this zone. And if it wants to break out of it, then it just very rarely does so to begin with. And if it does so, then it's only a 20% chance. And many of them would have to, it could be here, but it could be here, and it could be here, or it could be here. So what I'm thinking is that the algorithms pick up on this. And it's probably also an emotional threshold. And an emotional threshold, what I mean by that is that what would happen is that, say price moves fast down here. So this is the edge. 80% of P1s will be put in within here. We know this, right? This is just statistics. 80% will be put in here, which means 80% will not go lower than this. That means that what could happen is that if price has a fast move down here, emotions get triggered. It's kind of where fear and greed takes over people. People get fearful here, right? It might be like the emotional threshold where, okay, after that move, inexperienced people are like, fuck, it's going down, right? And that might be the reason why 80% of the pivots get put in here, because that's where the fear gets activated. Algorithms capitalize on that, and then price moves back up because people are selling here, algorithms are buying, and then bam, go back up. And right, this is not a single conclusion. Once again, I mean, just look at this. It's wild, man. Like, it's happening a lot. So that is my theory on it. And I've seen that because I've been doing some experiments with, okay, what is the 80% P1 zone? What is the 90% P1 zone? What is the, I think I even have here. Yeah, here. I mean, here, look at it. So this is the 70% P1 zone, right? This was the actual P1 zone of last week. This is the 80% P1 zone. Look how little the difference is, right? Look how little the difference is. That means that in this small area, 10% of occurrence, there's 10% of the occurrence. And now look what happens if I add 5%, just 5% after that 80%. Adding only 5% adds this. Huge. This is for the weekly, right? So where here from 70 to 80%, this is the difference, right? This is the delta. And then from 80 to 85%, this is the difference. Massive, right? So a difference of 80 to 85, so 5% extra. So basically, let me explain that. 85% of P1s are put in within this zone right here, right? 85%. Whereas 80% of P1s are put in within here, and 70% of P1s are put in within this zone for the weekly, right? So what we can see is that, we can increase from 70 to 80, but basically it's the same thing. It's almost the same thing, right? There's only, if you do 70%, the 70% closest or the 80% closest, it doesn't really matter that much. 10% in between is really small. But if you add 5% to that, we can see that after that, man, the difference is huge. So that means that the difference there is after 80% of P1s is where the outliers start. That's where the outliers start, right? So that adds up, and that what I was saying earlier, that what probably is happening is that algorithms are recognizing this, like, okay, this is where by far most of the occurrences of P1s happen. And once price gets there, people probably start getting fearful. At the same time, if you want to get further, you're going into outlier territory, which just doesn't happen much, right? So algorithms are probably recognizing this, and people are probably freaking out when it happens and selling, and that's why they work, in my opinion, right? That's my best working theory. But then again, it doesn't really matter that we know why they work. It's just the most important thing is that they work. But then you see now the weekly P1s, the daily P1 zone is already breached, which means this is an improbable day. And once again, we already know this, so don't pay attention to the daily stats. Weekly stats, we might pay attention to them. And then, yeah, I would also wait with the weekly stats. But if you just follow the weekly stats, then it's very improbable for this to happen. Very improbable. And how improbable, you ask me? Well, fear not. I have statistics on that. This would happen 8% of weeks. 8% of weeks. But once again, I would not pay too much attention to it, because if it were ever to happen, it would be in an improbable week like now. But yeah, I really wouldn't bet on it, man. I really wouldn't bet it. If Trump signs that executive order, this thing is taking off to the moon. If you would look at statistics, then this makes more sense, right? This makes more sense because this happens only 8% of the time. But once again, if it ever was to happen, it is during an improbable day. So I don't want to put too much emphasis on this one. Quickly doing the chat. Are you meaning the Bitcoin expansion will take 2 weeks? No, I mean it will take 2 weeks, right? So not that it takes another 2 weeks. I mean that it will take probably 2 weeks for it to occur, because what you have to, and that's actually a nice bridge. Here, look at the last time, for example, right? So the last bull run here, March 21. Let's just look how long that took. From here to the top, 53 days. I mean, okay, so maybe I'm being exaggerating in 2 weeks. From here to the bottom, to the top. So let's say 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So 2 weeks is too eager. But a lot of the damage will already be done within 2 weeks, right? The main thing is this. This took 2 years to get down here. If it's going to reverse, and I think it will, but, not financial advice, but if it's going to reverse, then it's not going to take 2 years to get back up. The move will be explosive, as we saw here as well, right? Obviously, we had different structure going into it, but that's generally what happens, right? People think like alt season is actually relatively short, like the real alt season. And this was just six weeks of madness, right? 6 weeks of madness. And as you know, I've been waiting for February. And if we look, for example, at Bitcoin dominance, which I think will still go higher, and it is going higher. But last time, I mean, when you really had an alt season, is from here to here. So that's the same, right? It's like 9 weeks or something. So we're going to have like 2 months where it's alt season, and after that, it's pretty much back to normal. So let's say just 6 to 8 weeks where we're going to have a crazy run, most likely on alts. But for that, we need Ethereum. Like it just hasn't happened yet that we had an alt season without Ethereum. And that's also, people are saying like Solana is gonna lead the alt season and blah blah, and Solana is leader. I mean, Solana has pumped crazy. Solana has done amazing, right? I'm not hating on Solana at all. But if Solana was really the trigger for alt season, it would have happened by now, right? Solana has done extremely well, but we haven't had alt season yet. So it's clear that Solana is not the trigger for alt season. It's just like in a league of its own. But at some point, it's gonna stop outperforming. I do think that. And I also, by the way, I really don't like the comparison of, like, I see it so often that people are saying, okay, Solana is the winner now, Ethereum is dead. It's such a poor take. Like it really is a very poor take, because you cannot compare. Like they're not mutually exclusive. It's not like Solana is going to kill Ethereum or Ethereum is going to kill Solana. They're probably both going to keep existing. What's way more likely to happen is that Solana is going to take a significant market share from Ethereum, and then Ethereum is still going to do its thing, because it has its drawbacks, but it's still way better in terms of security. It has way many more protocols. Institutions are building DeFi mainly on Ethereum for those reasons. It's much easier to do cross-chain integrations. So people will keep on building on Ethereum, and the most likely outcome is that Solana is going to take some market share for Ethereum, especially on some niches. So, for example, Solana is obviously the better meme chain. There's going to be probably some DeFi niches that are better on Solana, and that's perfectly fine, and that doesn't mean that Ethereum is immediately dead. It's a poor take. What's more likely to happen is that both are going to do well for the remainder of the bull market, right? Both are going to do well, and I do think that Ethereum's time is coming closer. Is there any chance you would make an Ethereum strategic reserve as well and sign an executive order for that? Well, there is a chance that he's going to make like a crypto strategic reserve instead of a Bitcoin strategic reserve, where he's just going to add multiple assets, right? So it could be Chainlink, Ethereum, Bitcoin. This is something that is reasonable. I know some people are anticipating that. I mean, it will be very interesting to see. But so yes, there is a chance. Not necessarily. I wouldn't expect him to make an Ethereum strategic reserve, but there is a chance he's going to make a crypto strategic reserve where he doesn't hold only Bitcoin. It just seems that he wants to appease everyone, right? So there's a good chance he's going to do multiple assets. Nelson, what's up, dude? I've been contemplating a strategy that plays a short or long at each end of the weekly P1 pivots at each weekly open. Whoever hits first, just ride in and close the other. Yeah, that's not a weird strategy. It's not a weird strategy at all, man. So what Nelson's saying is that you just wait for, you place an order here and you place an order here, and you just wait for any one of them to get hit. Any one of them to get hit and remove the other. That could work. That could work. Not only that, I could probably get statistics on that. Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I'm thinking about that now. I should gather statistics on that. Yeah, interesting one. Definitely let me know when you start testing that, what the results are. All right, then to ETH, USDT. ETH is basically, I was doing some TA on it yesterday, and Ethereum is basically just in a massive range, right? It's basically in a 4-year range. I mean, when is this? Let's check the months because it's easier. Basically, ever since ETH has been in here, so 44 bars, right? So all nearing up to let's say 3.5 years. I already know. Sergio, light bulb moment. Yes, that was the light bulb going off. That was a good idea, Nelson. I was running that through my mind, but that's really good idea. I mean, we see really often, right, that the P1 bounced from there. So I was going over that in my head, and yeah, there was a light bulb moment. It gave me a feature idea. So thank you for sharing. All I read in Nelson's message is, "Hey guys, I'm going to give signals to him." He's already doing that. He's already doing that, man. He's already doing that. Do it. Yeah, I will gather statistics on it. I'm working on the pivot zones feature now anyway. I'm working on it anyway. But back to so really good idea. Thanks again for sharing. But back to Ethereum. So Ethereum is basically just in a 4-year range, where we had a deviation of the low. And I personally really like what Ethereum is doing, because it is building really solid bases on its way up, right? That's why I always, as you know, I think it's no signals today. No, that's probably for the best. But you much rather have prices build solid bases on the way to the edge of a range before you want to see a breakout, right? If we would just see this, then the chance of a reversal are much higher. So we at first had a deviation of the range, we reclaimed the range, and now we are on our way back and we front run the range high. So this for me means, you know, I mean, I'm already pretty certain about ETH will getting its time, because people tend to forget, right? I think people are too focused as well on if you're a spot holder, you do not give a fuck about how Ethereum gets to its price point. So say you're waiting for 10K, and you want to sell at 10K, because people are so like, oh, Ethereum is doing nothing, and I'm an Ethereum holder myself, so maybe I'm coping, but I also hold Bitcoin. But you know, if you want Ethereum to go to 10K, personally, you know, for my spot backs, I don't care if it does it like this, or if it would have done it like this, or if it does it like this, right? Just like a massive sprint at the end. I don't care. I don't care. But if you're not planning on rotating them actively anyway, I think people who are holding backs, they're too focused on the midterm. But all that matters is that you have a plan where you enter and where you sell. And I mean, do you really care what it does in between? I personally don't. But regardless, what it's doing right here is something I really like to see, because on any time frame, and the markets are fractal, if you see a range, and this to me is a clear range, and you see a range and you see this is obviously a massive deviation, but if you see a deviation of the range and a reclaim, then what's almost always next is range high, right? So besides, I didn't need the range to know that that's going to happen, but this is a very nice extra confluence where you can say, okay, we front run that, and now we're generating a massive amount of liquidity. Right here, equal highs right there. I mean, this thing is really setting up, in my eyes, to start absolutely fucking flying at some point. Does it? If Bitcoin starts flying today, I don't think it's going to be now, right? I personally think it's probably going to take a little bit longer. It could be a month, even, unless they come out with some really crazy news, right? Because I mean, what Eric Trump said here, wait until you see what they do tomorrow. I mean, imagine they come out with some crazy bullish news on Ethereum today with the inauguration. That could change the entire landscape, right? Price leads, narrative follows. People always have, yeah, but it's so bearish on the ETH right now. All it needs is to take one massive catalyst and to price shoot up, and then no one is bearish anymore and everyone will be bullish. But, you know, price will go first and then the narrative will switch, not the other way around. So we know that this is next, right? This is next. And what it's done is very nicely staircase. I mean, look at this. It is beautiful. This is really beautiful price action, right? So if the deviation, go here, go up, retest, right? Now we failed to read that, to break this so far, but what's happening now, like ETH is super range bound. So we have this high time frame range where we're currently holding above the 0.5. Then we have, let me get, I don't know, all the shit I have on there. Then we have the mid time frame range here, where ETH also range bound, right? ETH did pretty much the same thing, right? So ETH did pretty much the same thing. If we dump from here on the inauguration, then this is the I mean, if I don't think it would get here, but if it would get here, then that would be a very nice level, because that's the range low, and then it finishes the rotation to the range low, back up. But so on the lower time frame, it's ranging also at the deviation, right? So look how similar, like completely range bound. High time frame range, low time frame range. I mean, very, very, very similar. Not identical, but very similar. And then we have on an even lower time frame, we have this range right here, where we just reached the range low, right? So ETH is clearly very range bound. But now we reach the range low here, and we know that this is an accumulation, right? We know this is an accumulation because it looks like an accumulation. And also, we know for a fact that smart money is buying here because, I mean, we see the literal proof. So what's happening right now is that at some point you're going to reach these range highs. And when it does, like I think the next time we'll reach these range highs is going to send. That's what I think. Because if you have this kind of range, and that's also why Ethereum has been so disappointing, because it's just been going sideways on a lot of time frames, right? The only time it didn't go sideways was during this right here. Here, sideways, sideways, sideways. The only not sideways parts are here and here. The rest has just been sideways. But at some point, the range is going to break out. And if a range like this is going to break out, man, that's going to be a wild breakout. It's going to be a wild breakout. So what I think is going to happen is that somewhere in the next month or something, you're going to have some form of really bullish catalyst for Ethereum. Everything is going to start shooting up in the air. And then, then it's going to be a good time for Ethereum holders. So far, once again, this is where World Liberty Finance is accumulating, right? We know that for a fact because we have the addresses. So all in all, I think ETH looks very good. Just range bound, so we can play the range. We're now at the lower edge. Like this was a very nice tap at 0.5. But if we get here, then in my opinion, well, if we get here already, if we get one more time to 4K, in my opinion, it's off to the races. What's up, David? You can rewatch the stream both here, basically just this link, or on YouTube. But if you just go to my Twitter, you can find it here. So higher time frame, because I'm not making any lower time frame bets today because it's just very difficult to do. I'm very bullish on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Solana and Trump coin, I would say, or at least, well, Solana I think will still do well. But Trump coin, I mean, definitely stay away. Solana, be slightly cautious, right? Because I could see that if everyone's looking at that, things could change pretty fast. And one final scenario. So, okay, there's two things that might happen. Just to reiterate, in my opinion, the less likely scenario, because I do feel like people are pricing in here some kind of reserve to be announced. And once again, Robin, ETH 10K you expect? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I expect ETH to hit 10K. Because the fundamentals, like people who say ETH is dead, do not understand the fundamentals. The fundamentals are really, really good still. And once again, look at what smart money is doing. They're betting heavy on ETH, right? Heavy. But so if you would add, there's two possibilities right now to close things off. There's two possibilities. Either this thing, I mean, I don't want to be this guy, but it's going to go down or it's going to go up. But if it does this, I personally think that's going to be good for altcoins because then price will just keep on ranging, right? Then this is just our range. And I mean, if price gets here, that would be the last proper buy. So if this happens, I wouldn't necessarily think it's very bad for altcoins, maybe in the short term, but then I would expect alt season to start somewhere within this range. But what I think is more likely is that price is now anticipating a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and the markets are smart. There's a lot of people already know, right? people know what's going to happen. People on way higher positions than us. What I think is happening is that a lot of people are now so we have that manipulation here, bam, move up. So if that Bitcoin strategic reserve gets announced or something like it, something bullish, then in my opinion, that is one of the few moments where bullish momentum will be unstoppable. Bitcoin will probably keep shooting up. Bitcoin dominance will probably keep shooting up as well until we get that rejection on Bitcoin and that price can slow down there, and that will give us the range we need to get proper alt season, which, well, I think will be somewhere there. So I think the most likely scenario right now is that Bitcoin will break out. Bitcoin will break out, keep going up, and at some point, start retracing a bit, and this is when alts can start gaining a little bit of momentum. So this is what I think is the most likely scenario. But once again, I'm not going to act on it. I'm just going to sit on my hands today. I'm going to put on the inauguration if I can find it somewhere. I'm going to see whatever happens, and I'm going to enjoy the price action. But I'll be prepared for both ways, because if this just keeps going up, for me it's very simple: sit on my hands and enjoy seeing my spot backs go up. And if this happens, then I may have one more opportunity. But honestly, I'm already so well allocated. But if I would find some, spare fiat money, that would grant me one more opportunity to ape some into Doge and possibly Ethereum. But even if this happens, I think that would be not be as bad for alts. I think the alts would go closer. But once again, I'm not gonna act on it. I'm not gonna short this. I think that would be very stupid or very risky. Not stupid, but risky. If you have your confirmation, of course. But what I think is going to happen if we get that strategic reserve announced, then this is going to happen, right? The only way this wouldn't happen is if the announcements, in my opinion, are a little bit, well, it might even still happen if we do get them out. But I do think, once again, that this is one of those cases where if you get a bullish announcement, but then the bullish momentum might be unstoppable, right? But once again, I'm just going to sit in my hands and enjoy. So recap, Bitcoin at highs right now, inauguration coming. If there's going to be very bullish news coming out of the inauguration, like Bitcoin strategic reserve, that might be too much bullish momentum to stop. If we do get a retrace, then I expect Bitcoin to just keep on ranging here, and that would be very nice for altcoins. But I'm not going to anticipate on it. I'm just going to just wait out today, see what happens, check back tomorrow. And finally, I'm bullish on ETH. I'm looking forward to see what Liberty Finance is going to do tomorrow, right? Because apparently they're going to do something tomorrow after buying 46 million worth of Ethereum yesterday. So apparently there's going to be something crazier today. And this is the kind of thing that could really be a catalyst, right? But once again, no need to anticipate on that. So I am also bullish on Ethereum. And if Ethereum starts going, that's when we'll get the alt season. But once again, my window is not quite, my window is this green box. It has been this green box for a while. And this black line is somewhere where I think is close to the most probable timing for it to happen. So that's, that could be another, let's see, could be another 4 weeks, which nicely aligned with that idea I shared earlier that if Bitcoin breaks out, then you would expect Bitcoin to remain strong for a bit. Is that, yeah, that's more or less 4 weeks. They expect Bitcoin to remain strong for a bit and then also take over after. So that's it, guys. That's it. I would recommend being very cautious today. Enjoy the show. If price breaks out, happy days. Expect Bitcoin to be strong for another while. If price goes back down, no stress. There's no top, but then this range might last a little longer. And actually might last quite a while longer. So then just play this range as it gets. So that means the next target we're looking at is range lows, 90K. And if that would happen, I would definitely expect this to happen. But right now, I think the more probable scenario is a breakout. But let's just wait and see. No need to anticipate. So interesting week, very interesting week. We've seen some volatility, but we know this is not going to be the end of it, right? There's more volatility incoming. So let's keep each other updated on the Trump inauguration. See whatever happens. And man, let's hope for a good show. All right, guys, thank you very much. Later this week, we'll be back with a live stream where we'll actually dive more into statistics again. We'll dive more into statistics again, and we'll take things from there because that's when things will have normalized a bit. For today, don't pay attention to statistics, at least not the daily statistics. From tomorrow onwards, or maybe Wednesday, because tomorrow is probably also going to be crazy because New York is closed today. And then tomorrow is like the first trading day after the inauguration. So probably today and tomorrow are going to be very wild. And it might be good to tread with caution on statistics. So, guys, thank you very much. I wish I could give you a more definitive answer, but sometimes the answer is that it's better to assume you do not know because a day like today, fuck man, anything could happen. Fuckery inbound. Let's enjoy the show, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have an awesome week. Don't touch leverage if you like money this week, at least. You know, be careful with touching leverage because that's how people are going to get wrecked during these days. Don't be that person, and watch out for Trump coin. Don't buy it, not now. Those are the main takeaways. If you don't do those things, you'll be fine, and we're gonna get out of this very nice. But the remainder of the bull market is getting closer, and as you know, to close off, my high time frame idea has always been, I think I have it on the bookmarks somewhere right here, is that green zone is bull time. Good times are coming, right? And we're still well in this, like now we're just a little bit further, right? So it makes sense that now we're going to see some acceleration soon. So let's enjoy the remainder of the bull market, and don't forget to stay level-headed. Draw out your plans for taking profits, and I will see you guys on the next stream, which I'm still yet to determine. So keep an eye out on the Discord, and for sure I will see you right here on X, YouTube, and in the Discord. Thank you very much, guys. Have an awesome week. I'll catch you soon. Ciao, ciao.